As I move around and I meet my compatriots, I sometimes wonder how much of this beloved land in which we live they are aware of. Most of you, during your school days, were taught various things about the island and some of its history, but most of what you learn is more contemporary and recent history. Tonight, this is going to be interactive and very much so, because we are all Trinidadians, so we will all talk about Trinidad as one. During that time, we are going to talk about a number of people, and at this point I'm going to call a number of names, and I want some of you to identify them or identify things about the names that I call in a manner that others will understand. I'll start with two world famous names. And the first one is Christopher Columbus, and the other one is Sir Walter Raleigh. And as we go on, you will see how they are intertwined in the history and development of Trinidad and Tobago. So who would like to start to tell me something about those first two names? Or would you like to hear more names? More names. Let's take Laventie, Carenage, Chamflet, Guayagayari. One more? Laventie. What can you tell?
Dr. Columbus.
Columbus, go ahead.
That's Columbus. Ambitious man who decided that in order for the Europeans to benefit from trade in Asia, he decided not to pass through the dangerous Middle East to go to India, but to take a route over the sea where they could circle the globe and then come to India that way. That way they will not, the goods will not be pirated whatsoever. His idea, he fed his idea to the monarchy of Portugal. They turned him down. Then he went to England. They turned him down. Then he went to the Queen of Spain. They also turned him down.
What's his name? What was her name?
Isabella, sorry.
Right.
Isabella and King Ferdinand. So he went again, and they were reacted again. Then he went again for the third time. Then they decided to finance his expedition. On one condition, anything he discovers, he has to name it the following Christian names, and it should be tribute to the Kingdom of Spain. So on that note, she granted him a boat. They called it the what he would have boat by?
You are talking?
Yeah, the boat. That what's the boat? The Fata. Right, she granted him a ship. And his crew was
Santa Maria.
Go ahead.
Santa Maria.
Well, would you like to comment on anything he said before?
Facebook.
Who would like to comment? Go ahead. I thought you said you would like to comment.
No, sir, I said I like.
Oh, you liked what he said.
Yeah.
Anybody have any comment to make?
Yes.
Hold on. Edin?
He was going to the palace. He was talking to something. Go ahead and continue.
All right, continue.
So his crew was given as what we call convicts. So the queen gave him his crew and they was to be convicts, seeing that the life wasn't long and they were ex-convicts, so they were convicts. So she granted him as a crew. So he now has control about convicts on a cruise on a voyage that was unknown. So he said about to sail on September. Well, he said about to sail. So he left. He went to the Canary Islands first. Then he went across the Atlantic. So across the months passed, no land. Everybody's like, you're restless, someone still they're looking, no land. Then on the 9th of September 1942, land.
I think it's 1442.
1442.
What is it?
He's 119. Sorry.
Yeah, land. That was the alarm that woke everybody up. When everybody gets up that morning, they could see the silhouette of the islands.
Which island?
San Salvador. Well, they gave it a name San Salvador, which means Holy Savior, the one who saved after the King of England. You know the Christian stuff.
King of England?
After the Queen of England, my bad.
Queen of England?
The Kingdom of England.
Don't make a joke of it.
No, I know, but just so you know. I think you know. Yeah. So after they arrived at the island, they found some people who they thought was supposed to be. They thought they had landed on Japan, which was supposed to be Lima, but it wasn't going to be Japan. It turned out to be a huge landmass stretching from what we know as Canada today in the north to what we know as the Cape of Horns to the south.
I would like to interrupt, please. Would anybody like to make some corrections to what he's saying? Because he's going in the wrong direction. Anybody? To begin with, you said that he would try to avoid the dangerous passage through the Mediterranean, which is wrong.
No, to
the
Middle East.
The Middle East. To get to the Middle East, where would he have passed?
You have to.
Where would he have passed? Right. The dangerous passage is around the Cape of Good Horn, which is the end of.
No, the Cape of Good Hope. The Cape of
Which is where?
South Africa.
Thank you very much. That's where danger is. That's one of the little mistakes that we made. We'll talk about Christopher Columbus later on. Hold on. Is there any other name that anyone wants to talk about? No, I never mentioned him. He has nothing to do with the history of Trinidad as far as we are talking tonight. Tonight we'll talk about Trinidad up to the end of the 19th century because you're not taught a lot of that.
Queen Elizabeth.
Say that again, please.
Queen Elizabeth.
Tell me what you say.
Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth? I did not mention Queen Elizabeth. But Queen Elizabeth comes into the story when we talk about someone else. One of the names I mentioned was Sir Walter Raleigh, and maybe you know the story of Walter Raleigh and Queen Elizabeth, don't you?
No.
Okay.
That was his wife.
Trinidad, as we know, was named by Christopher Columbus for the 3 years that he saw in the southern region. And he thought of the Holy Trinity who became Trinidad. But we are not going to talk about that now. We'll talk about that later on. I mentioned the names because, like I said, as we go on, we'll talk about those individuals and their relation to Trinidad. Each one of you here was born in Trinidad, except for my good friend John, and any other people that I don't know. But John is an honorary Trinidadian, so I give him birthrights. Each and every one of us was born. Can someone tell me when Trinidad was born? How did Trinidad come about? Does anyone know? Would anyone like to know? Trinidad, the island, not the government.
In 1492.
1492, once again, your dates are a little mixed. We'll come back to that, the 31st of July, 1498.
That is second voyage.
Trinidad and Tobago is what we're talking about, not Santo Domingo, Haiti, Jamaica, or elsewhere. The subject matter is Trinidad and Tobago. And I said the names would apply to Trinidad, not elsewhere. As I said, we were all born, and Trinidad also was born. How did Trinidad come about to be born? Trinidad is part of the earth. And the geologist tells us that the earth is 4.54 billion years old. But when the earth first came into being, this was not as it is today. Channel 3 has a graphic which, if you look at it at the beginning of their program, you will see South America rejoining Africa. It's the reverse of what really happened. At the end of the Mesozoic period and the beginning of the period, which is about 300 million years ago, there was a supercontinent called Pangaea. Now, in history, there have been many supercontinents and there have been many myths. The first that the geologists tell us about is a continent called Rodina. But to come more to more recent times and the birth of our beautiful native country. That 100 million years ago, the South Atlantic part of that supercontinent was called Gondwana. And at that time, the majority of the total amount of water was contained in two major oceans, in the Arctic and in the Antarctic. When the continent started to move apart, maps will show you, and those of you who have atlases can easily put that together. And you will find that South America was a part of Africa. North America would join itself very easily into Europe. And you'll find that Australia, which fits itself very neatly into Lower India. In the breaking up of things, there are always fragments. And the world over, you will find a number of archipelagos. And our Caribbean island is one of those archipelagos. And we are the fortunate ones to live in the least disastrous area in our archipelago. And I think we have a lot to be thankful for that. Trinidad developed from being a part of the South American Republic, and that area known as the Orinoco Delta was the moving away point. The Trinidad started its journey eastward. As most of you will know, if you continue to look at your geography, you'll see that many continents are moving. Australia, for instance, moves 3 inches eastward each year. India moves northward 5 inches each year. The Himalayas grow 2.5 inches each year, and so on and so forth. So we know that these things are moving, and one has to ask oneself, why are they moving? Once again, our geologists tell us about tectonic plates. One of the most famous is the Santa Ana Bay in Southern California, where for the last maybe 40 or 50 years, we have been told that one day, California will move completely away from the United States and be a little island, continent, or whatever by itself. Hence, we have every reason to believe and to know that we, at one time, were part of the South American continent. And we have so many things in common with South America that I will ask you to tell me some of the things that we share with South America. Anybody?